Robin.
Tony.
Tony.
Moira.
Steve.
Bob.
Bob.
Cat.
Come on.
Tell us something.
You.
You. Okay, I should tell something. And
You've got a nice small crew here. You'll be able to expound on it very deeply.
Still haven't resolved the beginning here. 4 Sundays ago. What's going on, guys?
the beginning. Yeah, on the beginning was the word. If there is no word, there is no beginning.
That's it.
And we're talking about non-conceptual awareness. Words are concepts. So without the concept in non-conceptual awareness, no beginning, no end, just this, as it is. Easy. Now we can relax and enjoy. Yeah, so depends how the crew will come on board. Small crew, you says. So jump on board. Any requests, any ideas of where to start or what to expand on or brainstorm on or brain quieten on?
I'd like to ask Bob one of the things that came to me during the week.
Yeah.
In your journey, Bob, you asked me how I was during the week, and I'm going like this. And it's a bit. I got it yesterday that life seems like a battle, and it hit me that only if I want it to be. And I was just wondering on your journey pre-76, how you went with that.
Oh yes, it was going all the time. All the head stuff was there. Yeah. Doing all the disciplines I was supposed to do, meditating and doing all the chanting and doing all that sort, and the Guru was over. But you know, there've been good stories come up and bad stories. It was all about the story.
Yeah.
And all about me.
And all about me. It's got the belief that I'm going to get somewhere. If I keep this practice up, I'll get there eventually and do something, you know. Well, maybe I won't, you know, and then there'd be despair if you thought you wouldn't, and eyes if you thought you would, and all the rest of it, till it was pointed out that I wasn't the body, I wasn't the mind, and this time I saw it. And that's when the whole lot dropped away.
So there was a moment like that, was
Yeah.
there?
Can you hold it? But just don't put it away.
Well, it was just a clear seeing it in the moment, and then recognising that I'd never been there.
You got it, sort of thing, hadn't it? Got it.
Well, I was thinking, I got it so that I thought I'd never be caught in the mind again. I walked out the door and I was. But it was different in this way. I had seen through it and really recognised at this time that I wasn't the body, I wasn't the mind. And so I couldn't get the same intensity into the beliefs. Hey, how you going?
Yeah, that's what you do. Microphone is here. You keep it there.
Got the ankles.
So each time you look, you know, when you're good by the belief, you have another look to see if what I saw that time was right, and recognised it was, and that would strengthen, and the old habit patterns would start to dissipate. Nothing can live without energy. It's all energy. So no energy going into the erroneous or false beliefs. How can they stay there? Though they've been so habitually formulated and believed in for many years, they might be a bit stubborn, but still, in saying something is false, can you ever truly believe it again? You can't. You must. And every time you look to try and find it, you can see it again and again.
Don't put the microphone, hold it here. Don't put it away of your face.
Oh, gee. Back to about 8 years of age there, Bob.
Yeah, so it grew from there on, and it grows by itself.
Yes.
And the thinking started to lose its hold. So
See?
Thinking,
Here.
thinking was always there, it always will be. Well, you know, we're not going to... Well, if you're embodied, you're going to think unless you get Alzheimer's or brain damage. And you're going to think in the same way. Always interrelated opposites. It's going to be good, bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, all the time. So it's not going to be one static, dead happiness or bliss or whatever they like to call it. How could you discriminate anything if it didn't change, you know? So, but you'd be recognising what it is. And when you look at things like that, when some of the sayings, there's no one-ended stick. Every stick's got two ends to it, no matter how small you chop it or how large it is. One end might be smooth, the other rough, but they're still the same stick. No one-sided coin. Coin's got two sides to it. And all this manifestation is a dualistic manifestation. It couldn't be any other way. Couldn't be day without night, silence without sound, winter without summer, movement without stillness. But what do you know about the manifestation? It's not static. You know, it's not going to be night forever. It's not going to be day forever. It's not going to be winter forever or summer forever. And the same with the thinking. You know, the thinking's going to change. You can't stay locked into the same thoughts all the time. They're certainly going to change. So then, the thinking and the feeling and the tasting are utilised. But where before they were using you, the belief that it was a separate, the you was a so-called separate entity, the ego or the person, thought it had to get something or attain something. And that was seen to be a fiction. And people tell you you've got to get rid of the ego, but if you look at it closely, there's never was one. Never could be one. It's the thought I am, which we've added to it events, experience and conditioning. And the events are always past events, experience and conditioning. The present event only lasts a moment because it's spontaneous.
I'll just do it
And
this
the
way.
past comes and goes like that. So you just you learn to let it go, relax, just know it's a singularity. That's what they call it. Non-duality is a singularity, not two. You leave it in that singularity, and like the stick, two ends to it, but they're not separate. And you realise there's nothing separate. Try and separate anything out of this space. Everything that manifests or expresses is the content of space. Can you postulate something, see it for yourself, or know something that was out of space? What could it be in? The place where it's got to be in, and that space is always empty. It's empty, it's got no. So the pattern, shapes and forms that are seemingly filling it are transient. They're constantly changing, and that's all they are. Vibrating patterns. The vibration or the energy vibrates into shape and form, name and form. And they tell you that the name and form are Maya. I know you from...
You do, you know me for a long time.
Yeah.
I keep turning up.
Hmm?
I keep turning up.
Yeah, good. Good to see you. You're looking well. I forget your name.
Uthena.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you are?
Peter.
Peter. Yeah, you were born before him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what you need to recognise and stabilise in that you are not the body and you're not the mind. What they call you are that, they say that pure awareness or that pure being. Are you unaware right now? And you recognise, no, I'm not unaware. So if you're not unaware, what must you be? You must be aware. That's the opposite, isn't it? So if you're not unaware, you must be aware. So, and that's the statement they have in Advaita, Satchitananda, being, knowing, and loving to be. And the other two factors are name and form, nama rupa. So you can't negate your beingness right now. Anyone who's not being, you can't negate your consciousness or your knowing. You're aware. And you can't say, and everybody loves to be. If you thought you were going to be dead in the next 5 minutes, you wouldn't be too happy about it. So we try to keep that being, and the very reason you don't have to try about being. Because what's taking your next breath? You deliberately take it. What's beating your heart? What's growing your hair in your fingers? It's life itself that's doing all these things, just like it's brought you into existence. And as Christ told you, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. And he wasn't talking about himself. He was talking about that sense of presence It expresses through the mind as the thought I am. That is your life. That is the pure being. And you are that life. And when he says, I am the life, you must recognise that also. I do. It's recognised here that I am the life. The body-mind are just pattern shapes and forms that appear in it. And where before they had believed in reality and the attachment and fixation with it, they had thought, I've got to become something, I've got to change that pattern, shape and form. But the pattern, shape and form are transient. Realise that it's constantly changing, like all this manifestation is spontaneous, it's constantly changing. And you look at that closely, you see you haven't got the same body you walked into this room with. There are cells dying in it right now, you mightn't realise them, but you know back they are, they're constantly changing and being replaced. Who's replacing them? You say, I lost 1,000 heart cells last night, am I going to dig them up from somewhere and find them? Or my kidneys and liver changing cells? You don't have to think about those things. The innate intelligence knows what you need. As again it says about that, you know, take no thoughts for your life, what you shall eat, what you shall drink, what you shall wear. Your Father knoweth you have need of these things. And Father's not Big Daddy or some God or something. God, the Father is that life intelligence, a pure intelligence that's functioning in the universe. And the Mahavakya is, I am that. The great mantra, isn't it? So you are actually that, not the body, mind and the label we put upon ourselves, the name and the form we put. Because that form is transient, it's constantly changing. And the label, the word, Bill, Bob, or whatever your name might be, but as a label was put upon us. And we've taken the name to be real. But it's not, it's just a label we put upon ourselves. And to make it seemingly real, what do we add to that label? I'm Bob, I'm an Australian, I'm a good fella, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm this, that, and the other. All these concepts are added onto it to give it some substance. An independent nature. But it's really no substance or any independent nature to it either, because how can it be substantial? There's no static point there when it's constantly changing. So you are that. You can't be anything else. And that is all there is. And don't we know that in our language? Because we say that is its carpet. That's the chair, that's the curtains, that's the window, that's the room, that's the tree, that's the flower. That is Bill, that is you, that is me, that is somebody else. Everything is that, and what's made it any different? The name and form we've put on it, the label. And the label, or the name and form, is not it. Like as I say, if you go into Myers to buy a shirt, you're not going to walk out with the label. The label shirt, you might put the label on, but you want the shirt yourself. Or the pair strides or whatever it is. And the label describes it, what you want, but it's not it. So the description is never the described. We're trying to describe something else, but it's not its description. You've got to look through and recognise what we describe, what we're pointing to in the description. You've got a signpost up the road, Burke Road this way, and a big arrow pointing to Burke Road. That's the description about it. You're not there until you walk down and follow that sign where it points to, and you'll recognise it from its description. And they tell you the map is not the territory. You can get a Melway and look, and there's Burke Road and Whitehorse Road right there. But that's not it. It's only the description. It's only the map of it. The map's not the territory. So that's why you've got to look through these things and recognise and see them for yourself and take a stance in that. And then it's taking a stance in that, nothing can ever knock you off that perch. You know? We've taken on the belief we are this entity. Now there's 99.9% of the world are coming from that self-centre or reference point. And, you know, you can easily go out and listen to them and they can easily drag you back in. But after you stabilise it, instead of them dragging you in, you'll start to drag them out. Because they'll notice the change that's in you. They'll see the change. And they'll come and ask you questions because they want to see what you've got, what brought about that change. People are curious, especially if there's something that looks good to them. They'll investigate it. And you might get a lot that will recognise, and some won't. Some will be stuck in all the teachings and all the habit patterns and say, no, I'm on the right path, especially if somebody's invested a lot of time in it. A bloke that's been looking at this 10, 15, 20 years is not going to let it go. No, I know, I'm nearly there. Well, then I'll get there the next time, you know. Not realising that you'll never get the answer in the mind. No way out of the mind. No way in the mind that's going to get it. When you look at the mind and see there's no such thing as mind. We all believe there is a mind. Have you investigated? What is mind? And you realise mind's nothing but thinking. Thinking is mind, or conceptualising. Which thought are you? If mind is nothing but thinking, are you the particular thought? Are you this particular I thought that you've added to I'm Bob, the Australian, or all the conceptual image you've added onto it, which forms the egoic mind? Are you that conceptual image? You're not. You are the pure I amness, the pure sense of presence. And you've always never been that. And that's the same intelligence energy that's patterning, shaping, forming this manifestation, this universe. It's the one essence that's vibrating in all of these different seeming separate patterns, but there is absolutely no separation into it. And so try and separate yourself from the air, earth, fire and water that your body's made up of. Separate yourself from the air. You can't. You wouldn't. Separate yourself from the air, from the fire, the body temperature. Get off the earth, get out of space. When you investigate, you're not separate from anything, yet we've got this stance that I am this separate entity. I am this person. And look at the word person, where did that come from? Persona, the mask. An ancient language was persona, the mask. So you see, that's what you've done. You've put this conceptual image or this mask of identifying that's hiding your true nature, or obscuring it, just like a cloud will obscure the sun. Take the thoughts like the cloud, don't they obscure that light of intelligence that you are, all the thinking. Yet when you recognise what forms the clouds, you realise the sun itself forms the cloud. All the sun does is shine of itself. You don't have to go out every morning and light up the sun. It's suffused with that light. So the same with this light of intelligence. And what happens? It shines. In its self-shining, ever-fresh presence, it evaporates water. Its radiance, or its heat, evaporates water. The condensed water rises, the water rises as water vapour, and it condenses. In that condensation it forms a cloud which obscures the sun. The sun doesn't know anything about the obscuration, doesn't know anything about the cloud. And you see the vastness of the sun, no matter how thick the cloud is down here from where we're looking at it from. The sun's never been contaminated or corrupted by the clouds, neither is this essence that you are. But when those clouds gets cooled down by the same radiance, it'll come down as rain, or it'll dissolve, it'll dissipate. And the sun is there in all its clarity again. And that's what happens when you start to recognise these thoughts. The clarity will become more obvious all the time. And you're not going to be concerned or bothered with going back into the thinking. It makes it so. But it needs to be recognised and continued, recognised as much as properly. Initially, you won't recognise it all the time. But as soon as a chance comes up, have another look. I saw through this the other day, and still locking it in and it's gone. Don't say that, because it can't go, it never goes. I saw it through the other day, why aren't I seeing it now? Well, maybe I need to have another look. When you go through the process again of having another look, no, I was right. Because once you see something as false, can it ever be true? It can't. You know that, you already know that in your everyday living. But you might get caught in...
I just didn't hear that. So when something comes up and you see it... You recognise it as false. It shouldn't come up again.
It will come up again, but you're going to fall into it again. You're going to question again, is this true? I saw through it last week or yesterday, and I've seen through it a couple of times. Is it true this time? You'll have another look, and in the investigation, the false cannot stand up to the investigation. So you recognise it's false again, and you're going to persist.
So is the investigation actually sort of a series of questions that you question that belief? Is that how it works, or is it just the light shining on it?
Well, it's the light shining that you don't recognise until you do question, who is this happening to? You'll ask yourself, well, it's obvious it's happening to this me. But that fellow the other night told me there was no me there. He says it's false. Is it real? Then you'll have a look. Where or what is this me? Am I a thought? No, you'll recognise you're not a thought. Thoughts are not there when I go to sleep, but I'm still alone. And thoughts are not there throughout the day when I'm locked in some activity and I'm not thinking about it. Am I this body? Well, try and find a static point in that body. And you realise you can't pinpoint and say, this is what I am, this is where I begin. It might seemingly be here, but when you look at it, there's nothing there. Am I this mind? And if I'm the mind, I'd be a particular thought. Which thought am I? Am I this thought I am? Well, it's not there when you're asleep. It's not there throughout the day when you're thinking other things, so you can't be that thought. So investigating all the false beliefs that we've taken on board will fall away. So because we didn't take to them overnight. From the time we first started to reason when we were little children, we've learnt them from our parents, school, society, and nation, and reinforced them ourselves every day. We've reinforced them. So when you stop reinforcing them yourself and stop letting others reinforce them for you, they're going to be seen for what they are.
Then you forget. Then you forget. You know, I notice I forget all the time.
Yeah.
Then I remember, it's just blah, 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 and that's a relief.
Well, what is remembered or forgotten is not you.
Yeah.
They're just memories coming in and forgetting and remembering. That's not you.
Okay.
You are that in which the remembering and forgetting takes place in.
It's so beautiful, isn't it?
So, there's your turn now.
Yes, so that was a very, very beautiful beginning, and I'm kind of collecting tips how to make Bob speak, because he had a really rough time lately, and he just put me here as a backup because sometimes he just doesn't feel like speak, and I just repeat his pointers and it kickstarts him. So this one is worthy of remembering. The one that Steve asked question, Bob, can you tell me how did it happen that you were, prior meeting Nisargadatta 1775, that was up and down going on. And then he went there, and Nisargadatta pointed out that he was not the body, he was not the mind. And suddenly the up and down also comes. There's still day and night, and pleasure and pain, and happiness and sadness, but it's not to me anymore, because the me has been seen through. So now all that roller coaster goes on the screen, but I'm the screen, I'm not being touched by it. So when the self-center or the false me is seen through, life is going on just as it always was, but it's not interpreted or translated as relevant to the me. So the suffering doesn't go on. There is no me to say, I don't want this, I want that. And even if the thought, I don't want this or I want that shows up, it's not my thought, it's just a passing cloud on the screen. So this was a great idea, and I encourage everyone to remember that what works is, Bob, could you tell me please? Because then he'll answer. That was amazing. Occasionally, I just when I drop a few of his pointers, and then I say, okay, this is all about non-conceptual awareness. So this is really about savoring it.
Here, say that, but I can't tell you anything, I can't teach you anything.
Sorry.
Can't teach you anything, can't tell you anything. All I can do is point toward and ask you to look, to see for yourself. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Alicia, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Tim.
Thank you.
Taz's daughter.
Correct.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Yeah. Can't teach you anything, can't tell you anything. All I can do is point toward and ask you to look and see for yourself. Because that's another thing you've got to understand. Nobody is ever going to give it to you. Or nobody's ever going to give you anything at all. You've got to recognise it for yourself, because when you recognise that all these pattern shapes and forms that you are, that's all you are, is pattern shapes and forms, are only appearance on the screen. And what you must be is the screen itself. Because what we talk about is non-duality. One without a second, not two. Not two. There never was two, never could be two, never will be two. It's what's what they call a universe. Universe, how do we, it's universe meaning one. An individual, we take ourselves to be individual. It's the undivided. But what do? We've divided ourselves into separate entities and individuals. And we suffer accordingly because of that. Not necessary. And the whole world is caught up like this. But down through the ages, there's always been saints, saviours and seers. And that's what the great religions have started over, these people pointing out to the non-duality of it, the one God, if you like to call it that term, appearing and expressing as everything. People have been pointing that, but what have they done? They've set the messengers up as saints, sages, saviours, seers. Listen to this messenger. And they miss out on the message. The messenger, you and I, are just appearances. But the message is the truth. And that's the old scriptural saying, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. It's not your thinking or acting. It's recognising the truth of what you are. You are that non-dual one without a second. That pattern, shape and form. And through the same intelligence entity that's functioning in this universe is expressing and patterning and shaping and forming as everything. All these different patterns. But it's still only the one. Never been other. And see where we are. We're all locked in the belief we are a separate entity. Our schools, society and nations, everybody teaches us that. As I say, there have always been a few down through the ages have seen through it, and the great religions have formed around them. But look at all those religions. Christianity will tell you, I and the Father are one. Not two. Buddhism will tell you, the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. That awareness without any concept. The Muslims will tell you here, there is no God but God. Allah is his name. Allah is the label you put on this one essence which we call God. God is the label we put on. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, the Word was God. God's only a label we put on the Word. A word we put on that beginning, this essence, being knowingness. The same was in the beginning with the Word. All things were made by him, by the Word. There was nothing made that was not made, that was made without the Word. So all these words and labels we got are labels we put upon that one essence and divided it or separated it through the Word. And you understand the Word is not the thing. And every word you've ever spoken has been learnt. You weren't born with any words. For the first couple of years of your life you didn't have any words, yet you were living, breathing, heart beating. It wasn't until about 2.5 when the capacity of reasoning developed you learnt words. And you know the word is not the thing. Because you can say water, water for the rest of your life, try and swim in the word. Try and drink the word. Try and wash in the word. You can't do any of those things. Does the word fire burn your mouth? It can't. Can you cook with the word fire? You can't. Can you heat yourself? You can't, not with the word. What's this word I or me? To know something as I and me, you've got to put this conceptual image. I'm Bob, the Australian, the good fellow, or the unhappy fellow, or the fellow that's having a bad trot. You've got to put the word on and all the description. And the description can never be described. The map can never be the territory. Go on.
Yeah, so another little trick that I have that often get Bob to speak is to actually experience a little bit of a silence. And it's not really just experiencing silence, it's just dropping the concepts. And because it is really about the non-conceptual awareness and about the one thing that is undeniably true, which is the awareness of our own presence, the presence awareness being whatever we want to call it. And it's the one fact that is not a belief, that is something that we can't deny. As Bob says, you can't deny that you are, that you exist. So that very base, that screen of presence is there regardless of the content, whether there are thoughts or no thoughts, whether there are objects or no objects, sounds or no sounds, all the changing phenomena. So all that changing phenomena are happening because of that still phenomena, like the movement is happening in stillness. And it's seemingly, it seems like they're two, the stillness and the movement, but they're not two, they're just two aspects of the one. So if we just sit in that, maybe he will tell us about the aspects.
What was it?
The stillness and static aspect and dynamic aspect.
Yes. Well, they call that in Hinduism Shiva Shakti. Shiva is the static aspect, That means it's stillness. It's a space-like awareness, stillness and silence. And Shakti is his they depict Shakti as his consort, the female aspect. And they say Shakti dances and the world appears. In other words, Shakti vibrates. Shakti is energy. You get transmitted Shakti in the so-called Kundalini experiences. It's just a transmission. It's supposed to be a transmission of energy, but you don't have to transmit it because you are that energy right now. Everything is energy. There's nothing can live without energy. So Shakti dances or vibrates, and the world appears. And all this manifestation is a vibration of energy. As I say, that body's vibrating with energy right now, and it's transient, it's constantly changing. You haven't got the same body you walk in this room in. There are thousands of cells dying in it right now and being replaced. You haven't got the same body you had last week or last year. Pointing out it's transient, or the same body you had when you were a little child. It's changed, but hasn't it been the same sense of presence that's been expressing through it as I am, though I am is the erroneous belief we've got about ourselves. It's the same essence expressing through all those different shapes and patterns of the body. Not only through these bodies, but through every body, through everything in its manifestation. It's the same sense of presence. It's the one essence appearing, patterning, shaping, forming as everything. And you are that. That's the Mahavakya, or the great mantra. I am that. That is what I am. And again, you know that in your language. Because don't you say that is a chair, that is a carpet, that's the curtains, that's a mirror, that's you, that's me, that's everything. We know everything is that. And what's differentiating? The label we put on, the chair, carpet, mirror, you, me, and everything. The label or the word. The name and form we put on, and they tell you that the other two factors, nama rupa, Satchidananda nama rupa, the name and form are Maya. They tell you that. Maya is illusion. It's a phenomenal manifestation. The manifestation, that's all this things manifesting, the space, empty space and so on, is phenomena. Look your dictionary up and look up the word phenomena. And the definition of the word phenomena is that which appears to be. It doesn't say it's solid and real, it only appears to be so. And that's all. But this manifests, the nama and rupa, name and form, are appearance only, a vibration. And put the same thing, you've got a still ocean out there, a beautiful, calm and peaceful ocean. What happens? There'll be a ripple of energy appear in it. It will form a little ripple in the water. That ripple will become a wave. But has it ever been anything other than water? As a wave, as a ripple, as a billow, as a whatever, a tsunami or whatever. It's still only the water. Whatever thought, feeling and emotion appear in this pattern we call you and me, it's still only that same essence. Instead of I am this body, mind, I am that essence, which is all the names and forms appear in it. Any questions, any doubts, any arguments, or you want to add to it, or anyone going to answer? It's simple, it's easy, it's understandable.
The name and form is the Shakti?
Yes, it's energy, it's a vibrating energy which we put labels on it. Because it vibrates into patterns, shapes and forms. They seem solid and real, like that body. Put that body under a microscope, and how solid is it? You see great big holes or blobs in it between the cells and all that. Thousands of cells are dying right now and being replaced. It's transient.
Is the Satchidananda not vibrating? Is it just, is that part of the Shiva?
Well, Satchidananda is existence, consciousness, bliss. Three aspects of the one. Are you existing right now?
Yeah, but...
Are you conscious right now or aware?
Maybe.
Are you conscious?
Yes, I am conscious.
And are you happy to be right now?
I am.
So you are that existence, consciousness, bliss. You are those seeming three aspects, but there's still only the one. And isn't the thinking, the nama rupa, the name and form going on in your head?
Yes.
See? But we've come to it all together, the believed in entity, the person.
So when you stop believing you're that person, vibration continues, but there's nothing receiving it. Is that right? No, nothing taking identity.
It's always been so. Now look at you before you were born.
Where was I?
What were you?
What was that?
Well, you could have been anything. But the essence of the food in your father and your mother, and the prana, the breath and the food they ate, formed in your father, it formed a little microscopic particle you call a sperm. You can't see it with your naked eye, yet it was suffused with innate intelligence. It was alive. And the same in your mother. The same essence of the food and the prana, the air, formed another little microscopic particle called an ovum to form in that pattern. And the sperm knew where to swim to. So it wasn't a static aspect, it was suffused with intelligence, it could swim. The ovum attached itself to the wall of the uterus, it knew what to do. And the sperm knew to swim to the ovum and to penetrate the ovum. And when those two came together, when it penetrated the ovum, the two joined, and that cell now became the one and doubled and redoubled and redoubled. And in that doubling and redoubling, it first began to form a little embryo, a little fetus. And it's still doing the same thing to this day. But you're no longer a little embryo. You're not even a baby anymore. You're growing up, but there's still the same essence doing it all.
Satchitananda is not vibrating. The Satchitananda doesn't vibrate.
It's vibrating all the time, but the essence it appears in. You see, it's appearing on the screen. You've got a movie on the screen, and it can be cowboys and Indians or something, and all these cowboys are killing the Indians, there's 100 dead bodies on the screen. When the movie stops, what's happened to that screen? Is it full of bullet holes and dead bodies? No, they all appeared on it. That mirror behind you, what do you see in it? Have a look at it.
What do I see in it?
Yeah.
An image.
You see reflections in it. You can't say they're not there. But go up to that mirror and try and grab a reflection out of it. You can't say they are there, but they appear to be. When you investigate, you know they are not what they seem to be. And you realise also there couldn't be a reflection in a mirror that didn't have a reflecting surface to appear on. Now, there couldn't be this manifestation if it didn't have that empty screen to appear on. The empty screen is the silence and the stillness. It's a basic screen. It's never been contaminated or corrupted by any of the things that appear on it. Just the same as that mirror has never been contaminated by or corrupted by any of the reflections that appear in it. They're coming and going and appearing to be real, but they're not taking any smoke.
Great pointer.
So you can only be that.
So could you say that the world is just a reflection in consciousness, if you like?
Yeah. Perfect.
Namarupa, name and form.
Yeah.
Seems to be real, seems to be solid,
Yeah.
seems to be substantial. And it is, in this aspect, you can't negate it.
Yeah.
You can't negate your own being. You cannot say, I am not. You can say it, but your innate intelligence, no. Even though I'm saying it, I still am. Body's still there and speaking still there. Yet it all disappears at night when you go to sleep. You go to sleep at night and the dream starts, and you can see yourself doing all sorts of things in that dream. You can be in a house, you can be a car, you can be flying a plane, you can be in the hills, you can be in the village, you can be in the city. You can do all sorts of activities in it. When you wake up, where does it all go? Gone. But when you wake up to this dream. And we don't realise that this is a living dream also. And the only difference you can tell, you couldn't, if your dream you have at night continued every day from where it left off, could you tell the difference between that dream and this dream? You couldn't. Because this dream seems to have a continuity, has a beginning and an end, day and night, all the rest of the other dream starts and finishes. In that dream you have it in deep sleep, your body hadn't moved off the bed, there were no words come out of your mouth, All those activities you were doing hadn't been any movement in it whatsoever. It's all appeared to be very real. If it's a nightmare, it can appear to be very horrific. Wake up to it, poof, it's gone. They're things to be looked at and seen for yourself, because I'm telling you, you won't believe it. A lot of crap, you know. But when you investigate and have a look for yourself, you'll see maybe it's not so. Because we've been so continually reinforced from the time we first started to reason, taken on these beliefs. Your schools have reinforced it, your parents have reinforced it, your society, everybody around you has reinforced it, and you and I have reinforced it ourselves. Every day. So it's a seeming solid and substantial thing there. So when you question it a bit, the false cannot stand up to investigation. You'll see it's not true, it's false. Can you continue to believe in something false? You've had lots of things in your life where you've seen as false. Do you believe in it today? Do you believe the earth is flat? People believed that years ago. Do you believe the sea is blue? It'll still appear to be blue, but you know the water's not blue in the sea. Get up in a plane, is there any blue sky there? Look out the window, it's outside, but there's no blueness formed into the body of the plane, come through that window. Water in the mirror, you're driving down the road, what appears water in the mirror, as you drive up to it, disappears. It's an illusion. Was there ever any water there when you question it? No, you realise never any water there. A rainbow, you look out, there's a beautiful, all these colours in the sky. Seems to be a big bow and has an ending. When you question it and see what it's made of, it's made the sun shining through a mist of condensation that's rising up, and it forms those colours in the sky that are seemingly real, but there's nothing there. I've got crystal in that window over there. Every afternoon on a sunny day, the sun shines through, and it breaks up into beautiful colours on the wall. Not one, but dozens of different patterns of colour on the wall. Try and grab a colour off the wall. Nothing there. Recognise these things. It's before your very eyes all the time, but we don't notice it. It's self-understanding, self-recognition, not somebody else recognising or telling you. And the religions get hold of this and reinforce that belief as a you, and you're a sinner, you're no good, you're this, that and the other, and then you beat yourself up with a word because you believe it. Your turn, you have the verse tonight.
I managed to escape today a lot of time, my day.
This loving to be, I feel like it's okay to be.
Pardon?
But, loving to be,
Yeah, well, you take
I feel like it's okay to be, but,
yeah.
I know things I love. And
Loving and hating got this connotation of love and hate, the two to scream opposite. But another way of putting it, have an affectionate awareness of being. Be a bit warm to yourself. Instead of beating yourself up, say, just be a little bit warm, and call that warmth love. An affectionate awareness of being is another way of describing it. Love yourself. And it tells you in the Bible, love one another as I, and you can't love one another until you love yourself.
then it tells you to love God with all
Yeah.
your heart, and I can't do that.
Well, God is the Word. I love the Word.
But if you see the life, that omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent force of life that make the flowers bloom and the tree grows and the wind blows. There you go. Do you love God? Because that is the manifestation of that life force. And the same manifestation is breathing you right now, is beating your heart. Be warm towards that. That, recognize, give credit where credit is due. And also another thing, I see, you want to actually embrace that pointer, and that's good on you. But it's usually enough to actually sit with one thing that you've already grasped, we have already understand. Usually there is at least one or two things that people who come here, they totally resonate with. Like the fact that the thoughts arise spontaneously. If the thoughts arise spontaneously, you don't really you know, you just kind of, you don't really make them so serious or important. Or if you resonate with that one simple thing that you're not the body. If you're not the body, then all the body's problems are really not your problem. So really just sitting with one thing that you've already taken on board and just sitting with it, it will take you all the way. It's not that you have to understand every single pointer, because, you know, we saw different patterns. That may totally not resonate with you, and it may never do. It may always seem absurd or stupid or idiotic. Yeah, you have concept what the love is, and you compare it with your experience right now. No, it doesn't quite match my concept. Of course, no, it's not. It's wrong. But what if you didn't have a concept? And this is just a pointer to the aspect of being, that if there is no distraction towards the drama going on in the imagination, there is a sweetness to that being. And without calling it love, which you may be comparing with some sort of a romantic affection or something, that's, you know, that's words. Words are dualistic. They are limited. All words can be discarded, because every word can be rubbished, because they belong to the language, they belong to their symbols, and they're dualistic, they're things. And what the non-duality is pointing beyond the things that the word represent. So the words are always wrong. But is there one thing that you actually yourself really, that feels close to your heart, that feels like home, that you do actually resonate and you know that's true? Maybe that you're not the
I feel
body.
like there are lots of things, but that seems
Yeah.
to just rub me up the wrong way or something.
Drop it, park it aside. You know, just don't waste your time on it, because trying to conceptually understand it, what a waste. It may dawn on you what the pointer is, especially when you actually sit in that sweetness of being, and then that's what they meant. It actually, pointers are understood only when you pass them. You know, it's like the map is not the territory. You can't, if the map is saying that there is a crossover 30 degrees to the left, you can't really picture it. But when you're there, that's what it meant. Like, you know, the pointer's gateless gate, or the pointer, any of them, really, it dawns on you when you're there already, when you're out of your imagination what it means and comparison with the experience. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So and also I would invite everyone, if you have the pointer that completely sunk in and is yours experientially, just share it, because someone else here in the group, doesn't matter whether you consider yourself awake or not awake, that's a concept, that's bullshit, everybody's already that. And this one pointer that is already kind of expressing itself through you can make a hell of a difference. We have people from America watching us here, and from Europe. That can actually be the drop that will tip over. That's why Bob always invites people to speak and ask questions and share their experiences. Because life works in mysterious ways. Sometimes people say something. I remember myself saying something that felt so ridiculously stupid, and apparently that was the thing that actually hit home. It's mysterious way it works.
Well, my favourite pointer, and I've probably said it a lot, because that is so true what you said, that some pointers resonate with some people more than others.
Yes.
And the one that always stuck with me, well, firstly Bob told me I wasn't the mind, but he said have a look at the mind. Yeah, have a look at how the mind works.
Yeah.
The mind works in the past and the future, pleasure and pain, in the pairs of opposites. So I have an image about myself that's not me, it's just an image of myself. So that image of myself cannot live in the moment. It can only live when I project that image into the future, or I reflect on something from the past. So if I'm not the image, in other words, if I'm not this me that I've been taught that I was since a young child, and I see that, well, I see the mind is the me,
Yeah.
The mind is the past.
Mm.
The mind is the future.
Uh-huh.
And I can't.
Oh,
That's
beauty.
it.
Mm.
That's it. You know, you cannot negate the fact of your own being, and that
Rubbish
image
goes
about
off.
you have about yourself is not real.
Mhm.
It's an image, just
Mhm.
like Bob was saying, in the mirror.
Yeah.
So, end of story. That's my favourite pointer because
Yeah.
it's resonated with me for a very, very long time. And if I get any patterns coming up,
Mm.
it just dissipates.
That's
No,
so
that's great.
relevant. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. What's your favorite?
I like the one you just finished off with. End of story.
Yeah, yeah. Full stop.
That's good.
You know.
Mm.
It is. It's like that. End of story. You know, if I get,
Yeah.
if I had, no, that's enough. End
Yeah.
of story. Thanks.
Yeah. Bob was playing today. We had a friend visiting in the morning. That little joke of what's the guy name? The psychiatrist who is yelling at the woman who is afraid to be buried alive in a box, and he just yells at her, "Stop it!" Well, end of story. Full stop.
Yes, it's sort of. It's interesting when you know, I had an experience this morning of, you know, of the ups and downs, and as I was coming back into awareness, as I was making a cup of tea, chattering away, going, I've really had a bad life, you know, and lots of regrets, and you know, what are you doing? You've got nothing, and I've gone. So I've had a bad life, have I? And it was really good to be able to get that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's amazing, you know.
yeah.
And the other one I've had, which is a big one, I woke up in real trauma, you know, and as I'm laying there in the bed in semi-consciousness, I am God. I thought, what? I am God, okay. That's good. So that was interesting.
Yeah, well, you are.
That's right.
I am is God.
We put that connotation as in God's a higher power. But if it's non-dual, there's only one power. That's the omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience. Total presence, total power, total intelligence. And that nothing separate from that at all. We sort of put the label on it, God, and we put that above us, and we're looking for something that you can't find because you're already that.
When I was a little girl, I used to be in Catholic school, and you know, we used to learn our catechism, you know, over and over and over and over again, and God is everything.
Yeah.
So most good ideas are simple,
Mm.
but the thing is, we keep that idea from when we're a little child,
Uh-huh.
and it causes a lot of conflict when we're a grown-up.
And then we
But-
draw pictures of him.
But then, interestingly,
Mm.
when you see the truth, and you see the truth in everything, then you can see that what you learnt as a little kid in catechism was exactly right. God is everything.
Yeah.
The only thing is those nuns never got it.
Oh, some of them did. Some of them did.
None that I knew did.
Well, I think
Oh,
some
there's
of
one
them
coming
did.
here.
Yeah,
There's
but
some of
my-
them
the
did.
ones, the ones at my
One of the
school
nuns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Julia
but
is
none
thanking
that
you
I
for
knew
pointer.
either, but some
Sorry?
of them. None that I knew either,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
some
but
of
I'm
them
sure
did.
there's out there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they're the Christian mystics and
Yeah, no.
people
I
like
know.
that, yeah, and I'm sure some nuns, yeah, see the truth in the parables and the allegories, and because that's all they are, parables and allegories.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, one that I see, like I just started noticing it, there's no doer. And the more you start watching that, you can just see everything just happens. Like,
right.
you get in the car, you open the door, you're near the car, you turn it on, you don't do any of it. It just happens. And the more in life you look at it like that, the more obvious it is.
That's
That's
great
just
one.
how it happens.
That's
Beautiful.
And you can't get away from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing about taking the next breath?
Exactly.
Try and stop breathing.
Mm.
You can't hold your breath. It'll make you take another breath. What are you doing about beating your heart?
Yeah.
Growing your hair and your fingernails, digesting your food, replacing cells in your body. It's all happening spontaneously and naturally. the grass grows by itself.
Just like seeing, what do you do about the seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking? Nothing. There is no agency required. Yeah, seeing life this way.
Today I was standing in the shower and I was thinking about, I had a bit of a blue with my daughter-in-law last night and I'm thinking about it, right? And then I noticed there's the wall of the shower there and I'm not even seeing it because I'm off in the thinking. You just open your eyes and it's there. You can't deny it's there. So, yeah. That's the truth. It's there.
That's how we miss out on so much when we're locked in the thoughts and things are going on all around. And it tells us a saying in the Buddhist text and that, be utterly awake with the 5 senses wide open. That means you're seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking. That might, naturally and spontaneously. And that's going on all the time, but we fixated on the one. It might be the seeing or the hearing or the thinking. And all other sounds are going on. They're vaguely there in the background, but we're not taking any notice, so they're pushed in the background. So it says, be utterly awake with the 5 senses wide open. We are seeing each one equally. You're not blocking any of them out. And so to be utterly open with unfixated awareness, where you're not fixating on one to the exclusion of all others.
What's he doing?
What was that?
And don't worry about it, I'll check it out.
Just number one.
Yeah,
He's pushing everything off the bench.
he is.
Oh.
Yeah, he wants the space. He loves space.
Be broken telephones, I suppose, now.
So what were you saying, Bob?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Whatever comes out.
That's nothing.
You pesto,
Yes.
number one.
Boy.
Not interested in sitting still either.
No, he likes attention. Everything thrives on attention. And that's what Bob was just saying, we spend all our attention in thinking. And there is a limited computing capacity in that biocomputer. So if all the attention goes up there, a lot of life is being missed out on.
Yeah, miss out. And open
It's
up
just
to
a
it.
habit. But a habit can be broken.
I don't know if it's a pointer, but for me, what's really resonated, other than full stop, is how Nisargata said that his teachers said just stay in the I am that, or the I am or whatever, and that's just that.
And that's delicious.
What's the I am? It's the sense of presence. It translates through the mind as the thought I am.
Yeah.
So it's that the knowing that you are, you've got to translate by the thoughts. You've got to say it's me or I am. But it's when he says stay with the I am, he's not talking about the word. Staying with that sense of presence.
Yes.
Anyone in this room who is not present right now? No? Nobody's jumping up saying I'm not present. You know damn well you can't. Anybody who's unaware right now?
No trouble with that.
No, you say I'm unaware. Anyone who's not loving to be, or liking to be, or whatever you do.
Don't provoke him. Yeah, but Nisargadatta also said that stay with the I am and discard all the other stuff. Yeah. Discard all the distractions. Thoughts are distracting you from the resting the attention of that non-conceptual awareness or the sense of presence I am. Or sounds, or, it doesn't mean that you can block them or stop them. You can't, you're not the doer. But just if the attention rests there, that's all, that's it. The other stuff are clouds passing, but we're not looking up, we're not counting them or whatever. That's a beautiful pointer. It seems like instruction, but it's actually a beautiful frequency to resonate with. And if there is a response, without any doer following the instruction, the natural resonance and the natural settling back into where the pointer is pointing happens. And that's really sweet one, because that what Tony was saying, when you actually focus your attention, relax the attention into this non-conceptual awareness, the awareness of presence, and discard the rubbish, the drama and all the other stuff, the sweetness just comes up. It's like place like home, the most intimate, sweet sense of familiarity that is pre-sensory is not a sensory pleasure because the presence cannot be sensed. It is a screen on which the sensing happens. So it isn't really, you can't sense it, you can't make it to an object because that's what you are. And it's pre-sensory, totally. The only thing you can't deny it either. So you can't say it exists as an object, but you can't say you don't or it doesn't. Yeah, and staying with that, what a beautiful pointer. But it requires, Nisargadatta was talking about the earnestness. I like to call it devotion because the calling of the heart for that truth that underlies everything that is changing. Truth is that which never changes. And everything else is completely changing all the time, just floating through the screen. So the loving to that unchanging reality underlying is, I just like the word devotion. That's what it doesn't matter.
No, 'cause that's easily.
Bhakti yoga, and have people misinterpreted Bhakti yoga?
Oh yeah, they look for an object of devotion or love and often put the messenger up there to use the messenger as an object.
Because the way you've just described it just resonates as truth and
the commitment really
different.
or longing.
The way how others talk about it.
But Bhakti relies on separation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you and what the devoted
But
to.
not the way Kat just said.
Yeah, that's right.
Loving to be, that's where it comes from. Love to the truth, towards the truth, or the being.
And being can never be becoming. Becoming implies a future time. And when you look into time, see, time is just a mental concept also. If you ask yourself, is there a past if we don't think about it? Well, if you don't think about it, can you say there was a past? Can't even tell me what you thought of a moment ago without recalling it. It's gone. You can't, and you anticipate and imagine the future. The anticipation and imagination is taking place in this immediacy. It's all taking place in this immediacy. The time is immediacy. We call it past and future. One of the sayings in Buddhism is let it rest. Just relax and let it rest in its uncontrived singularity. It's the singularity. Non-duality is the singularity. Not duality or two or three. It's one without a second. Let it rest in its uncontrived. You're not contriving. What would change it? The contrivance of thoughts. Contriving this idea or that idea. Relax into it. Just.
That puts us back to the Satchitananda Namarupa. Satchitananda static aspect and Namarupa dynamic aspect. They're all one. It's not that there are two things, one static, one dynamic. But in the static aspect is just pure awareness of being. As the dynamic aspect, emptiness dances into forms. The stillness vibrates into sounds. The movement. Into movement. The silence into sounds. But it's just one showing us as aspects. And the Satchitananda feels like it is also kind of not a still screen, but only depends if we look from the perspective of individual and we're looking out at the sun, then the clouds are obscuring it. But individual is a fiction. There is no way to look out at the sun and see the clouds. We are the sun. So from the perspective of the screen, that there is only movement. There is no stillness. The stillness is not aware of itself. The stillness is nothing, the emptiness, the cognizing emptiness. So it is really one, even though it seems like, well, when they say Satchitananda is the truth, which is that which never changes, and Namarupa is fiction, Maya is that which constantly changes. It's again not two. It's just the language that divides everything into a seeming duality. Because without the dualistic language, there would be no pointing.
There'd be no manifestation either. It couldn't be day without night. It couldn't be silence without sound, movement without stillness, winter without summer. It's constantly vibrating into the pairs of opposites, which we label. yesterday without tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's all that. When movement stops, stillness is there immediately. When sound stops, silence is there immediately. You don't have to look for them. Out of the silence, sound comes. Out of the stillness, movement comes. All spontaneously and naturally. Take an in-breath, you can't keep it for very long, the out-breath has got to follow. Expand your heart, the contraction is going to follow. Vibration, energy. Got any questions? Don't be afraid to ask them. Nobody's going to kill you or eat you because you say the wrong thing. Any doubts need to be cleared up? Or any beliefs need to be looked into? Understand a belief is not the actual. Your dictionary definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Acceptance of an alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. Put your beliefs to that test and they'll fall apart and not the truth. That's the simple one. The acid test of anything is, does it work? Test it out.
Every belief can be questioned. Like every concept is a belief. There's no reality in words, in concepts. Believing in being a body, believing in being Australian or woman or man or whatever, they're all concepts, they're all beliefs, they're all changing, they're all acquired. There is only one thing that is actually known and not believed, and that's the presence, the awareness of being. Everything else, every single thing else, including sun and the planets and the clouds and humanity and everything, is an acquired belief. Is the label that we picked out as kids. We learned words and we started labeling things and believing, reassuring, believing them into existence. All changing phenomena is a belief and it can be questioned. But it's just practical to start from the most painful one. Like, am I the doer, or am I unworthy, or am I a person? Then the rest is seen for what it is, just emptiness vibrating into forms. And it's loved as it, and it's appreciated as it. And it doesn't sting anymore, it doesn't hurt. So to get out of the beliefs, an easy way out, stop, pause the thought. Because if the belief is only conceptual, is only in the head, every word spoken or every concept in a head is actually a belief, then the easy way out, full stop. Full stop. Bob is offering the question, what's wrong with right now if I don't think about it? And answering that question, finding a curiosity to answer that question, bring us beyond the concepts and bring us to the realization there is no problem possible without the thought, without the belief. This is always just what is, as it is. Nothing wrong anymore, as Nisargadatta used to say, according to Bob and the books. I never met him.
Fabulous point.
It is. It's beautiful. It's because it's such an easy way to actually examine and get back to it. The moment the conceptual awareness is dropped off and the non-conceptual awareness prevail, what could be ever wrong?
Absolutely.
Unless you label it as such. I remember I used to verify that statement, what's wrong with right now if I don't think about it. Sometimes just walking around and feeling heartbroken because I was abused or whatever, or treated badly, and asking that question and posing the thought, right away all the story disappeared. Then I would sit home and imagine situations in which now there must be an exception. There must be a situation, when I have broken legs and I'm having a flu or whatever, lying with migraine and the world hates me. And even if I'm not thinking, I'm objectively suffering. Nope. Pain is not suffering. Pain is the sign from the body that the healing is going on. That I should not bang my broken legs because they need, I have to be careful. The pain is telling me, be careful. If I don't have an idea that they shouldn't be broken or there shouldn't be a pain, the pain is just part of a healing process. It's not a problem. It's only problem when I call it so, when I say so, when I label it. So life is easy in that non-conceptual awareness because everything just is as it is. There's nothing wrong.
So as soon as you label it, that's when you resist. Is it?
You may label something as positive and then you will
Yeah,
resist
but I mean,
losing
resistance is the trouble, isn't it? When there's
Yeah,
resistance
that's right.
comes up, that's the problem. So,
Yeah, but even labeling something as, this is wonderful.
yeah,
I don't want it to go.
but that's
already
attachment
resistance.
as well, isn't it?
That's already
Yeah, it's
resistance,
attachment.
if you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
hold something.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's a good pointer too. The resistance is a good one. Recognizing, because it's also very, very easy to actually sense any sort of discomfort, any sort of I don't like it. It's easy.
I mean, that's something I've got from meditation, is you can see that happening, or in me anyway. I can see it's going towards and away from things, all the time, and you can just see it happening.
Yeah.
Attracted towards or going away.
Yeah. Bob is often quoting Sin Ming, hold no opinion for or towards anyone. Doesn't mean the opinion doesn't arise, or hold no judgment. It does, but you don't grab it. You don't grasp it. Just let it go.
Thinking about what I was saying is, it's probably the attention
Yeah.
is moving, is what it is.
Yeah. But when you like something or dislike something, that's already kind of that subtle preference or opinion.
Yes, yes.
I used to like the one Bob said, you're either attracted or repelled,
Yeah.
and the rest of it's a story.
Yeah.
So you're attracted or repelled, then the story comes in.
Mm.
But you're attracted or repelled.
Yeah.
And
So-
then the dialogue starts going on.
So you're saying the attraction and
Repulsion
attract and repel,
is
is
natural.
that just a natural body function?
That's right.
Yes.
And thinking about it's the problem.
That's
Yes.
when
Yeah,
you-
okay, yeah, good. Yep.
No, and as Agata tells you, nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. You hear that, and, that's a good one, but how many investigate and say, what is imagination? Isn't it imaging in? You're creating mental images, putting energy of belief in. And if you understood that nothing can trouble you except in your own imagination, Don't you see the way out of all your problems? Not imagining things, just seeing them as they are. What's going to trouble you? See if that statement's true or not.
It's nice to see how imagination is precisely what is not going on in the moment. How there is a livingness going on the level of senses. There are sounds, there are scenes, there are smells, there are sensations in the body, there is breathing going on, they're all going on in the present moment. But imagination is something that is not actually happening in the present experience. It is something that is imagined, it's fake, it's obviously not present, like whatever it is. If my mother, who is totally happy there on the other side of the world, but she's not here now. I imagine her, same way I imagine myself, the self, same way I imagine problems. They're all imagination. And now I'm missing out on the reality of the sounds of passing trams, on the feelings in the body, on the smells, on everything. Because the whole computing capacity is spent in imagining. So waking up from that overlay of imagination, the conceptualizing, interpreting, meaning-making, speculating, comparing, analyzing, which are all beautiful and useful capacities, and they come up naturally when they are required. But usually they are so overused, there is such a strong addiction that they are not actually utilized when they need it. Probably using, analyzing, comparing, and planning for maybe 1/10 or 1/100 of what we are using would be enough to function properly and efficiently. But the habit is there from the conditioning from early childhood to just spend all of that capacity in the thinking. Almost as we are a hostage to the thoughts that are just having their own life, and everything in the manifestation is alive. But this habit can be broken. Through investigation it can be broken, and the thoughts will be just passing clouds.
What are you looking at me for?
Oh, I just like looking at you. Yeah, we are watching the animal. Actually, watching animals is a fantastic pointer. Like, especially, I mean, gosh, I just love cats, but any animal, probably a bird or even the grass growing, how effortlessly the grass is being lived, is being grown. It doesn't do anything. Or the cats are so agile and they're so flexible. They have this long white hair in the fur. So the cat is sitting, and through this long hair it feels every movement of the air and is so preoccupied with computing the present sensations rather than just analyzing and doing all that mental stuff. It's totally present, is ready to jump with the slightest sound, and it feels very relaxed and at the same time very alert. They are not troubled with all that mental chatter, and they are just delighted to be. Nobody has seen, I mean, gosh, maybe somebody did, because everything is changing and the energy, the resonance come up. But usually I didn't really see depressed cat or experiencing the self-pity or all that. They don't really even have that network in the brain responsible for imagining the separate self. Because apparently the separate self is imagined. I mean, surely it is. But even science agrees with that. So animals are a great pointer. The nature is absolutely fabulous pointer. Like, is the wind actually having any preferences when it blows or what it blows? Is the tsunami having any compassion towards the thousands of villagers that it blows off the earth? Is the fire having any sort of, is it bad or evil because it burns the forest and the animals are dying? No, it's just life playing out, and it's life coming on and off life. So just as in nature, everything comes in and out of existence. And there is no death, it's just the form showing up and disappearing. Like the sounds or the words, they coming up and they disappear. Did that word just die? No, it didn't. The form composes and decomposes, just like the body. It composes, decomposes. It's just like breathing. It's just everything is vibrating in and out of existence. In and out, emptiness, form, emptiness, form. And seeing from this perspective, what could ever be good or bad? And it is not to undermine the beautiful, heartfelt compassion towards people who suffer. It's quite the opposite. It's part of the beauty of the whole appearance, to actually feel with others, to experience that urge to join on the level of heart. But yet, the dream is recognized as a dream. Like the way Nisargadatta was saying, the dream is not your problem. There's no need to wake up. There is no need to look for the way out. The dream is beautiful. And there is no awakening from the dream as far as the body-mind is going to be around here. This is awakening to the dream, when the dream is known for what it is and is loved for what it is. And that's enough.
It's enough is the sticking point sometimes. The mind's always looking for next.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And facing silence is just a frontier of emptiness is like something we're taught to do, so it's a bit confronting, but you can handle it. It's like so restful to see the room just listen and then the thoughts disappear and you realise the truth of that distraction factor. Every thought, every word is dualistic in nature, is an agitation. It's just like a way of being, but even that is going to be a concept. But you find it's almost a restful untangling, and then you get more restful.
Yeah.
Attaching yourself from all those identifications. It's not doing really rather than doing. Because there's this prevailing feeling, was the first thought I had in mind when I went to speak was, we've got to fix this.
Yeah.
Surely, something's wrong because of the absolute, there's all this brilliant stuff and we're all so miraculous. Why the hell can we wander around, like Shakespeare said, rounded in sleep? What's that about? It's almost annoying, and that's another reaction to this abstract idea of what it should be, which is just a bunch of memories and impressions. So it's like a Zen dog chasing its tail. There's nothing else to arrive at, really.
So good pointer. Nowhere to go, nothing to arrive. And what's next? It's just this. There's nothing next. Yeah. And the idea of fixing, that's a wonderful too. You wanna tell us the advice that you sometimes give to people about fixing stuff and changing stuff and trying to be a doer and alter things and modify things?
Oh, you go ahead.
You're evil.
What they call a hospital hand.
Yeah, the trap. You explained it beautifully. It's really nothing to add. I mean, trying to fix something, coming up from the judgment that as it is wrong. And if the absolute is so wonderful, according to who? To me, of course. This is not wonderful. Who says? Me, of course. So I've got to fix it, or I've got to find it. I've got to find the state in which everything is the way I judge it to be. With that conceptual overlay of judgment, or comparison with the individual sort of, and it's not even an individual, it's, let's face it, it's a culture. The cultural fashion type of a thing. Today, the definition of love and happiness is to have maybe one wife and a mistress. 150 years ago, it was to lie down in front of a cross or whatever. It's just a cultural fashion. What is the definition of happiness, and it's different for everyone. Or what is the definition of perfection? It's nonsense. It's concept. It's conceptual. Dropping all the concepts and coming back to that base, that sweetness of being. What could be wrong without the concept? What could be wrong without the idea that anything needs fixing? And recognizing it as just a dance of duality. Who is there to say that day is good and night is bad? is all just as it is. It's nothing to be fixed. It's nothing to be altered, and it's no one to be fixed either. That's and it's nothing next. Yeah. You're just here. You're not going anywhere. You're not going, like Bob is often saying, being is not becoming. You're not trying to acquire something or become someone. It's there already. Nowhere to go. That's yeah. Oh my God. All that years of running around in this carousel in my mind and trying to find the answer. There's no answer there. It's nowhere to go. It's nothing more than just is. There's nothing more beautiful or nothing more pleasurable or nothing more enlightened or no more light or no... Yeah, it's really nothing to get. There is no such a thing or object or state called eternal bliss or enlightenment. And even if there was, the person that wants to get it is totally imaginary, is a fiction, is the phantom. So now the phantom is trying to follow its imaginary sort of an object. It all happens in the head, all happens in imagination. Dropping out from this overlay into this. What needs to change? That's it. And then as Bob says, okay, you saw it for the fact. The first question Steve you asked, you saw it. The me is not true, is illusion. So now it seems to be blue again. The water in the ocean still appears to be blue. So there still appear to be a sense of location. If I punch this body, I can experience sensation, and this body I can't. So there is still appearance of the location. But it's just an appearance. Now I know it's the appearance. If it feels too real, okay, look again. Ah, yeah, right. Yeah, so whatever, whichever. Some people need to look for years. Some people just see it once and they don't really make themselves believe anymore. What Jane was saying, that really the image, the idea that there is someone inside that is choosing thoughts or making decisions or having will or whatever, that someone there is just a bundle of thoughts from the past, bundle of experiences that completely expired. Without holding on to these past experiences, there's just that breath in and breath out, and whatever the content of seeing, content of hearing, space of smelling and space of sensing is filled in with, doesn't really matter. The changing phenomena. It's always just the awareness of changing phenomena, and awareness is the reality, and changing phenomena is Maya. Looking at the clock, he does that when we go overtime. So unless you have any questions or you have something really, I mean, gosh, that was beautiful, the contribution of all of you. I really thank you for help. And to keep it alive, to actually assist each other, to help each other. But maybe you have something more to add or something, otherwise we just close it down. Ready for bed, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.